Hello everyone, I am Mark Sargent and I am doing an exclusive video interview for John Davis of the Flat Earth Society, and he has a few questions. And so I'm gonna read you kind of his email and answer the questions as we go along. It starts out, hey Mark, had a few hitches along the way, but here's the interview. Answer as fully or as briefly as you'd like, and I can either put it up in its entirety or frame quotes within an article. Send me any media you'd like included as well. I've got a few other notable flattists I'm interviewing, but I'd love to have yours up first. First off, I want to thank you for taking the time to interview with us. You're welcome. We've been getting lots of press lately, including having BOB officially register as a member of the society, as well as a huge YouTube following you and others have cultivated. Not only this, but we have been mentioned on several television shows. Given our reach, what do you think is the next best move for the Flat Earth community? Honestly, just saturation. Just keep getting the word out there in any media format that you can. I don't care what it is. Get the word out there. Tell people, and it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean overtly where you walk up to people, it's like, the earth is flat. No, don't do that. Come at them sideways. Size up who you're talking to. What I tried to say in several of my things is the first rule of Flat Club is that you don't talk about Flat Club, which means size up who you're talking to about this. It is important that you know who, what your audience is. And that's how it's, because there's a huge amount of population that still doesn't know about, even, I mean, yeah, it's out there in media. Now you can look it up in any search engine and find it. But there's a lot of people that still don't know that it's a serious topic. So that's what I recommend right now. I see a lot of fighting amongst the community on whose view is right and who is a shill. Others have compared it to the fighting between different sects of a religion, their particular beliefs, but I see it more as a rigorous and sometimes heated fight you see in the evolution of any idea. Do you think this kind of rhetoric is helpful discourse? Yeah, I do. I did a little kind of a parody thing. I took a part of Monty Python's Life of Brian, where Brian was accused of being the Christ and being chased around the city. And at one point, he had dropped a shoe and kept running because he didn't want to get caught. And they came to the shoe and they thought it held religious significance, and they were trying to decipher it. And everyone was jumping on it, saying, "Well, it means he wants us to collect shoes. No, he wants us to put shoes on a pedestal, and it's the gourd and all this stuff." And of course, they all misread it, but at the same time, the enthusiasm was so amazing that you could see, and Monty Python did it deliberately, all these separate religions forming over what seemed like a very benign act. And that's really what we're kind of running into now. Although it's not a benign act, but everyone's trying to come up with a meaning for it, and so there's so much enthusiasm, and you got to see that as something that's real and something that's legitimate, because the enthusiasm is what drives people. I mean, this is not a boring movement by any stretch. If anything, the infighting shows you how passionate it is, and how, what I consider to be real it is. So absolutely, I think it's beneficial. What is your favorite proof of the Earth being flat? Probably my favorite proof is not what most people would look. I mean, you want to go the garden variety stuff, and everyone's heard that. It's like, oh, well, go find the curve. There is no curve, and you can't find it anywhere, and that's what everyone's pointing to. Go to the beach, look at a mountain, go to the weather balloons, and the only people that are showing a curve at all are NASA. But that's not generally what I go with. I go with the testimony shows right now. And remember, the burden of proof isn't on the flat Earth side. Of course, there's no absolute concrete proof of the flat Earth, because if there was, we wouldn't even be talking about this now. The world would be turned upside down, and there'd be a lot of chaos out there. So what I'm looking at is the testimony shows that I've been doing over the last 6-8 months, where there's all these people coming forward who are from all branches of the armed forces, and pilots and engineers and subject matter experts, and just about everything. I've done 17 so far, and they've all said the same thing. They've all gone in line with their stories, which is there's something wrong. One, there's the Earth apparently appears not to have a curve to it, doesn't appear to be spinning, and the maps are wrong. And they're all going along with it, and nobody's retracted. None of these people have come back and said, you know what, I want my testimony retracted. I totally don't believe in flat Earth anymore. You combine that with nobody else has even come out against them. So, you'd think that, especially with the military guys, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and other military people from outside the United States, you'd think there'd be people coming out against them from these groups, and they're not. Not only that, but to date, there is not a single person. You want my favorite proof? Here's my proof for you. I know it's circumstantial, but I don't care. My favorite proof is that nobody who has gone down the flat Earth path, who has said that there's been flat Earth, said that the Earth is flat, nobody has retracted it and gone against it. And one guy tried. Literally one guy in England who was a flat Earth guy with like 25, 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. He made a bunch of pro flat Earth videos, and then whatever reason, he flipped. And he went against it, and he goes, you know what? Flat Earth is a bunch of crap. All these people are frauds, and I'm going to make a 10-part series against flat Earth. He only got 5 done, and then he disappeared. And by that I mean he's never made a video again. You may see a comment or two here and there, but he's never been on camera ever again. This guy did video. He didn't do, just audio narrative stuff. He was actually on camera, like I'm talking to you now. His name was Tiger Dan 359 3. Can't remember what it is. Tiger Dan. You'll be able to find him. Just look up Tiger Dan on YouTube. So that's my big proofs. They're all circumstantial, but I don't care. I mean, that's what the clues were about. It's about creating. It's not about the proof of flat Earth. It's about creating reasonable doubt in the globe, which we have done many times over. From what I understand from your book, Flat Earth Clues, the Sky is the Limit, you lean in from the religious side of things, and much of your paradigm speaks to to this, including a dome, much like Samuel Shenton's. Could you speak a little to your model and the role of the conspiracy within it? Yeah, I do think it's a dome. And I didn't follow the religious side just to say that there was a dome, but it helps that all the religions, the big 5 religions, talk about that it's an enclosed system, which is why I called my main website, I didn't call it Flat Earth Clues or flatearth.com, I called it enclosedworld.com. And yeah, Genesis 1:6, the barrier, the firmament that separates the waters above and the waters below. That's what I go after first. Look at the Wernher von Braun, where Wernher von Braun was, when he died, his headstone, which was very modest considering he was the father of NASA, and the rocket scientist, unless you count Jack Parsons, which he had the year of his birth, the year of his death, and then Psalms 19:1, and I had to look it up. I didn't know it was something else. 19:1. You look up and it says, "And the firmament shows his handiwork." Why would the father of NASA be talking about an enclosed system with a dome over it? I think that's very, very interesting. And of course you'd want an enclosed system because you're going to want to use the dome to fake the stars and the planets and everything that's up there. No different than a planetarium. You want to know what the model looks like? Go to your average planetarium in any major city. Look outside, go inside, and then look what you're looking at inside. It's like, wait a minute. They're very, very similar. And that's the argument I put forward to people. I go, okay, when you're in a planetarium, you see Mars and Jupiter and all that stuff, and then you walk outside of the planetarium. How do you know you're not just in a bigger planetarium? How do you know? Eventually you're going to come to the same, all the globalists come to the same things. Well, NASA told us. Like, really, the Americans, the American space program, the ones that said they went to the moon and then nobody else went to the moon after that, those guys? Because they'd never fake it. The Americans would never lie about anything. Whatever. Let's see here. It's been heard around the flat Earth water cooler that bird is the word. Can you tell us a bit more how General Byrd's expedition fits into the flat Earth? And are there others who have had first-hand evidence of the flatness of the Earth? Nobody else other than Byrd has been implicated in this thing at all. And yeah, he was the guy. That's why I focused on him early on in the clues. He went down there in 1928. He flew over the North Pole supposedly in 1926, and from 1928 up until his death in 1957, he spent most of his life in Antarctica looking for something for almost 30 years. What was he looking for? Why so much intention? Flying, not just going out with sled dogs and tractors and stuff. He was flying in the air for 30 years, and in 1954, it looked like he had given up. It looked like, well, he hadn't found it 25 plus years later. And he did that wonderful television interview where he was talking about Antarctica was just a wealth of resources. Let's carve this thing up. And then, of course, Murphy's Law, as soon as you give up on something, there it is. Next year, Operation Deep Freeze, 1955, 1956. He goes down there again and finds something. Whatever happened spooked everybody, not just him, but every country that was down there. United Kingdom, Russia, Chile, Argentina, New Zealand, Australia. The Americans, everybody got off the ice, and they sealed it off. They created the Antarctic Treaty, the longest standing treaty of all. It says no corporation can go down there and do work ever, ever, ever. And it's still not up for review until the year, 2045, something like that. Okay, what else do we got? What is your take on gravity? Gravity is just a word. A rose by any other name smells just as sweet. That's about it. So when I drop this, That's gravity. Why? How do you know this? What, it's a name. That's all it is. It could be called hoopa-joop. We don't know what it is. Gravity is just a force that either pulls or pushes this thing down to the floor. Science will say it's a natural process. It's part of density. You know, the Earth is dense, and therefore that's how it happens. But on a flat Earth model, well, it could also be density on a flat Earth model, but I think it's electromagnetic. I think it's a molecular magnet that pulls things down, meaning gravity is, think of a magnet that can pull metal, right? Gravity, or a magnet can do that to metal. What if you had a magnet that was based on a molecular level? It can pull anything, including organics. So it can pull plastic or wood or water or anything. At that point, you know, you just crank the dial to whatever it is. What's the difference between a molecular magnet and gravity? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, we create artificial molecular magnets in game simulations and computer simulations all the time because you have to build in the physics. You have to build in gravity. And there's no real gravity in simulations, so what are you doing? You're just writing the program and saying this is what gravity is. You know, objects will be pulled to the ground at this speed per second. That's what gravity is. I mean, we can simulate it in software. Who says that it can't be simulated here, where we are now? Many, like Botham, Shenton, and Johnson, held an infinite plane. It is an interest of these views came from interpretation of the Christian Bible, especially the case of Charles Johnson, who references Moses as a more religiously minded flattist. What about this view appeals to you, and what about do you find false? I actually don't hate the infinite plane. I don't. But I don't believe in the word infinite. I don't believe in the word forever, because everything that has a beginning has an end in one form or another. I don't want to get into it too much. So when you say infinite, how far are we talking here? 10,000 miles, 100,000 miles, a million miles? We don't know. What's out? I try to do one world at a time. So what's outside of this structure? How far does it go outside of this structure? I don't know. Are there other pockets like us outside of this? Yeah, very, very, very possible. You know, there could be. Now we could be in a much bigger area with different worlds outside of this. You know, different flat worlds that are connected together, and there are civilizations that can go between them. I believe in that. Do I think it goes on forever, though? I just don't like the word infinite. That's all. Do I think it could be part of a larger structure? Sure. And if it is, again, I will not lose any sleep over it whatsoever. Everyone has a favorite model. Which flat Earth model do you find particularly ridiculous? Honestly, none of them. I don't think there's any flat Earth model that I've really hated. There's one that has Antarctica at the center, but nobody really follows that one. So, I mean, it's got a really small following. So I don't really pay much attention to that. That's really, yeah, nothing other than that. Most of them are, because it's still pretty fuzzy right now. We know that's what makes the flat Earth thing so great right now, is everybody, like the Monty Python thing, everybody's moving forward in this big wide line with all these different ideas. What they all have in common is they know it's not a globe. Now, what the details are, we're still trying to work out how the sun and the moon work, and how what the dome is shaped like, and what the heck is happening in Antarctica. Everybody's got their own ideas about this, but it's kind of in flux. It's kind of fuzzy. So until we get to the point where we actually absolutely know, everyone's kind of open for it and still kind of jockeying for position. So no, I don't think most of the models that are out there are ridiculous at all. What is next for you? Doing more of what I'm doing now. I mean, honestly, you would have asked me last year, right now, what I'm doing, I wouldn't have believed you. I mean, I've done a book, I've done a couple apps, I've done a couple websites, marksargent.com and enclosedworld.com. I've done 80-something interviews. I've got my own radio show on Truth Frequency Radio. A lot of stuff. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Hoping I can do bigger and better things, maybe some more TV stuff, more video stuff. I'm just hoping I can get the word out there. That's all. I'm just doing what I'm doing is really what I'm focusing on right now. Are you planning any more books? Not right now. I wasn't even planning the first book, to be honest. Flat Earth Clues, the book. I was contacted by a publisher. I wasn't planning on writing it. They contacted me out of England and said, hey, we'd like to turn your transcripts into a book. I said, great, wonderful. What do I have to do? And they said, send us the transcripts and we'll take care of the rest. I didn't really have to do much when it came to the book. Where can we go to find some of your work? You can go to enclosedworld.com. That's the free site. marksargent.com. That's the subscription site. You can go to the YouTube and type in Flat Earth Clues, or really just go into any Google search engine and type in Flat Earth Clues and you will find it. And then he goes, thanks again. Let me know if the society can help your efforts in any way. John Davis. Thank you, John, very much for letting me do this exclusive interview for the Flat Earth Society. You guys have a good day, okay?